All right, in this video, I wanted to go over some of the ways that I go about finding a job, some of the skills that I use for hunting for one, how to actually apply for it, or at least try to get around it and figure out how to get your foot in the door. To get started, I usually start off on Glassdoor. From there, I look for the type of company that I want to work for, or at least figure out, competition of the company I want to work for. I do want to actually show you where I get started on Glassdoor, so let's head over there and I'll show you. Now, when you get logged in, you do have to navigate to the company's page to get to where I'm at right now. When you log in, it usually starts you off at your dashboard. So go over to companies, and this is where we're going to start off our research. If you have a company in mind, you can search for it. I usually like to just look through the first, couple pages, see if there's any big players that I want to apply to or at least look into because they're interesting. And let's do Apple, right? From there, once I load up the page, I then go to salaries. From there, you'll see either 8 to 10 different departments that this company has. Now, when you do see this page has a lot of information. This will tell you how a company is ran, all the departments that are needed. When you look into each department, they're going to have a lot of the different roles that include the managers, the people that are the middlemen, and then usually entry-level positions. So I do want you to take the time to figure out which department you want to be in. You can also reverse this search and do a couple other things too. So if you ever want to start your own business, you could figure out what departments are needed for that business, and you could figure out what positions you need to hire and what those positions actually do and what they actually play a role in for the company. But we'll save that for another video. For this video, we're actually using it to look for a position that we're interested in, find out some details about it, and see if this is something that we actually want to do. So if we go back to the page, we're going to go to engineering because we want to look for a job as a software engineer. Duh. Now, you can start, going through the page and finding out all the different positions and the exact one that you want to be. Sheesh, 1,360. So for us, we're just looking at the software engineer. This is the estimated pay of that role. You could see kind of what the base pay is and years of experience. These are all recent salaries. So these are people who are actually submitting this information recently. You can find out a lot more details like related jobs, demographics, yada, yada, yada. Some information that you should be looking for in a job is you should be looking for the qualifications that are needed. When it comes down to these software engineering jobs, you are going to need to know certain languages, and you do need to actually have the experience to know how to be proficient in it. Most of the time, they're usually going to be asking for you to be at a skill level where you can actually teach it to others, rather than to be at a skill level where you're still needing documentation from the website in order to implement it. They want you at a very comfortable level so that when you actually get into this role, you're going to have the workload that's actually demanded for your qualifications and education. And that's another part too, is to figure out what education is needed. Some of them may require you to have certificates, so it's not even that you need a college degree. It may be that you need certain certificates. I know AWS has, programs. I know pretty much all of the big domains, I think Google. Trying to think of the other one, but those would be like the big players in terms of having certificates from them to learn their infrastructure. Education can also include knowing how to I don't know, actually. I was gonna make up something, but it comes down to, your college education, and then your certificates, and then, man, I had a third one. Just what you practice, really. Like, what projects or experience can you show that you've actually done that? Not making sense, but to get back to where we were, when you do more research on the position that you want to also look at what your day-to-day tasks are going to be like. You're going to also want to know what the workload is going to be like. You also want to know what is going to be expected from you on a month-to-month basis or even week-to-week basis. I even ask for a day-to-day basis when it comes down to contacting someone and figuring out, if I even want this position or not, which we'll go over in just a moment. Some other things that you want to research too is, where is this job located? Do you need to move to these jobs? I know for some of these software engineering jobs, you're going to hear about, the San Francisco Bay Area as being a huge tech hub area. Some of these jobs require you to move there. A lot of them are starting to become remote, but if you are remote, they may ask you to be up at a certain time frame, so be aware of that. There's a lot of research that goes into, the ideal job that you want, so I really do want you to take the time to do that. I mentioned that I do talk to people about this, so that's where I wanted to actually go back and show you how this is done. So when we were doing the research on the software engineer at Apple, what I usually do is I take this and I put it into Google. As you can see, I've already searched it before. And where I usually go from there is I look for people who actually have this role already. So as you can see, there's people who currently are software engineers at Apple, but we're going to click on this first guy. Now, depending on if you have the premium version or gold version, I don't know what it's called for LinkedIn, you may just be able to go straight into messaging them. But if not, you may need to go in and connect and then try to send a message once they connect back. Or you may just want to show activity on their post. Either way, when you contact them, you can ask for a 5-minute phone call or video call, just asking them some questions about the job. Some questions I usually ask are some of the things I included about what are day-to-day tasks going to look like, what do the job qualifications, or what are the job qualifications needed in order to get that position. And then I would start asking them a couple personal questions like, hey, I see that you did this in the past, because you're on their LinkedIn, so you could see, what they did before, and you can ask them what made them switch over to this company. What was it about it that made them do the switch? And then you can ask them too, how has their experience been? Do they recommend it to someone who's looking into this company to work for? What are some things to be aware of? What are some things that they don't like about the company? Because people want to talk about what they don't like sometimes, so you can ask them that. And sometimes the answers that you get may be enough to deter you to the next company, or if not, it may ask you to challenge, or it may challenge you to ask more questions in the sense of, why do you not like that? Or have you done anything to change the circumstance? And do they have any resources to help with issues like that if they were to come up again? Basically, you're giving them an interview of what the position is. And it's kind of nice because afterwards you can ask them if they know who the hiring manager is or who you should talk to in order to, start looking into applying for this position. I've done this a couple times, and it kind of gets me over the whole needing certain qualifications, because when I'm having that conversation, I'm telling them that, I've done that before, or I have the experience, or I can prove that I could do that. And when I apply, I have their referral. So now my application has some credentials to it, or some credit to it from someone else. So now it's a little bit more powerful. And if they can actually have that conversation with the hiring person before they even look at your application, that already gives you a better leg up for getting the position. Now, if they don't want to do that, you can ask them for the information of the hiring manager. If they don't want to do that, you can ask them, do they know how, ask them how did they apply for the job. And if they share that, you may just have to copy what they did. Sometimes it may just be that they applied on their website and they just got lucky. Sometimes that's just how it is. Another way that you can also do this too is on LinkedIn. You can look up recruiters, and recruiters can help you find certain people within the company that you're looking for as well too. So if they helped someone previously get a position at the same company, I may ask that recruiter to get me connected to that person, ask them the same kind of questions. What do they think so far? Do they recommend it to somebody else? If so, could you help me get that? And you're starting that conversation with someone else. Either way, what you want to do is you want to get the information of who's going to be the deciding factor on your hiring. And once you do that, now you can start doing some follow-up with them. That follow-up should include your information, your credentials. It should also include just something a little personal for the person. Maybe you can ask them as well too to connect and ask them some personal questions. The personal questions could be, when you're not at work, what do you like to do outside of work? You actually want to seem like a human. You don't want to just seem like you're just only about the job. Like, you actually have interest in them as a human as well too. So just be sure that when you communicate with them, that you are leaving a personal touch to your messages. Now, the last thing I wanted to go over was when I'm looking for jobs on like Indeed or I don't know, I think Monster's still around, and whatever class fields you can find. I usually start off with Google searches, and wherever they take me from there, I be on websites I've never heard of before, but if they have the job there, then I would just apply for them. Whenever I'm looking for those, I will try to find the email address of someone who is going to be the hiring manager. You can usually sometimes find that within the posting itself. You might not find the email, you might just find who the hiring person is or who the hiring manager is, and from there you can do some Google searching. You can find them on LinkedIn, or you can also look for their domain. There is a website, and I can't think of it, but you can actually find email addresses of a company's domain, and it'll tell you the structure of usually what the email is. So if it's like their first dot last name at apple.com or whatever, then you can follow the same formula with whoever that hiring person is and put that email in. Or you could resort to the last thing of just applying and hoping for the best. Usually when I apply though, I usually try to find jobs where they lead to some person that I could follow up with, so that I'm not depending on them to search for my application out of the hundreds of applications that they got and try to make mine just a little different. I'm trying to be the one that sticks out and get the interview. Once you get the interview, I'll make another video about some techniques on how to do some really good interviewing. But when it comes down to getting your foot in the door though, you have to really know the job that you want, do some research on the position, Ask people who already have that position what they like about it, what they don't like about it. If it still interests you, get follow-up information so that you can reach out, send them your information, and try to get that same position that that person has, or if not, something similar. And then you can keep doing this for company as well. You keep finding somebody that is already in that position that you want, ask them how they got there, see if they can give you the way of connecting a lot more quicker than doing an application on their website, or like I said, through Indeed or whatever. Figure out a way to get through the gates that most companies kind of put up, and you'll have a better chance of getting a job. So hopefully this video has helped. These are all the ways that I go about looking for a job when I'm needing one. So good luck.